The film begins in the year 1760. The Collins family leaves Liverpool by ship and travels to Maine, New England, to expand their business. They start a large fishing enterprise, eventually establishing a town called Collinsport and building their grand mansion, Collinwood. Despite their growing wealth, the head of the family teaches his son, Barnabas Collins, that family always comes first. 15 years later, Barnabas becomes involved with a servant named Angelique, who is secretly a witch. Angelique truly loves Barnabas, but he tells her that he does not love her. In anger and revenge, Angelique uses dark magic to kill Barnabas's parents. Barnabas begins to suspect that a dark force is behind their deaths, so he starts exploring black magic. During this time, he meets Josette Dupré, and they fall in love with each other. When Angelique discovers this, she becomes jealous and casts a spell on Josette, causing her to jump off a cliff. Barnabas jumps after her to save her, but Josette dies. Barnabas survives because Angelique has cursed him to become a vampire, forcing him to live forever in sorrow. After this, Angelique turns the villagers against Barnabas. Together, they accuse him of being a monster, capture him, lock him inside a coffin, and bury him in the woods. Many years later, in 1972, a young woman named Victoria Winters arrives in Collinsport by train. She has come after seeing an advertisement for a governess position with the Collins family. However, Victoria is not her real name. She is actually a runaway and chooses the name Victoria from a poster on the train to hide her true identity. When Victoria reaches the mansion, she is welcomed by the caretaker, Willie Loomis. He tells her that the mansion is in very poor condition. There used to be around 100 servants, but now only he and Mrs. Johnson remain. Soon, the head of the family, Elizabeth Collins Stoddard, arrives and speaks to Victoria privately about the job. She explains that only 7 people live in the house now, including the servants, and many parts of the mansion are no longer in use. Elizabeth asks her a few questions, and Victoria answers confidently and honestly. Impressed by her bold attitude, Elizabeth decides to hire her. At dinner, Victoria meets the rest of the family. Elizabeth's brother, Roger Collins, is a lazy and irresponsible man. His daughter, Carolyn Stoddard, is a rebellious teenager. Roger's son, David Collins, is a troubled child who has suffered since a young age, as his mother died when he was only 5 years old. He believes that he can see his mother's ghost. To treat him, a psychiatrist named Dr. Julia Hoffman has been hired, but she mostly spends her time drinking and pays little attention to her work. Victoria feels sympathy for David and tells him that she also believes in ghosts. This does not sit well with Elizabeth at all. Later, while getting ready for bed, Victoria sees the ghost of Josette in the hallway. The ghost whispers that he is coming, then begins to spin around the chandelier. After repeating the same words again, she falls in the same way Josette once fell from the cliff years ago, and then suddenly disappears. Meanwhile, in the woods, a construction team working on building a McDonald's is digging the ground when they discover Barnabas's coffin. When they open it, Barnabas emerges. After being freed, driven by centuries of hunger, he drinks the blood of the workers, apologizing to them as he does so. Covered in blood, he then begins walking toward the mansion. On the way, he is amazed by modern technology and clothing. When he reaches the mansion, he encounters Willie in the garden and uses his vampire powers to hypnotize him in order to gather information. He has Willie clean him up and then enters the mansion with him. As Barnabas prepares to introduce himself to the children, Elizabeth stops him and asks to speak with him privately. She expresses suspicion about his identity and insists that all the magical stories associated with the Collins family are nothing more than fairy tales. To prove his identity, Barnabas opens a secret room, one that even Elizabeth didn't know existed. He promises that with the hidden treasure inside, he will restore the lost glory of the Collins family. Seeing this, Elizabeth accepts him back into the family, but on one condition: he must never reveal to anyone that he is a vampire. The next morning at breakfast, Elizabeth introduces him to everyone, saying that he is Barnabas Collins, a distant relative who has come from England. As the family discusses business, Barnabas learns that the Collins fishing empire has completely collapsed. Now, the entire region is controlled by a company called Angel Bay Seafood. Just then, Victoria enters the room. The moment Barnabas sees her, he cannot control himself because she looks exactly like Josette, and he immediately starts flirting with her. Meanwhile, Angelique is still alive and living under the name Angie Bouchard. She has now become the owner and CEO of Angel Bay Seafood. When she hears about the incident in the woods, she goes there herself and is shocked to find the coffin open. Without wasting any time, she heads to Collinwood, where she gets into a heated argument with Elizabeth. Afterward, Barnabas takes her aside to speak privately. As soon as the door closes, Angelique kisses him and reveals that Collinsport now belongs to her. She deliberately built the fishing business to destroy the Collins family. The townspeople now see her as their leader and have completely forgotten about Barnabas. Because of this, no one would ever believe his side of the story. After Angelique leaves, Barnabas shares his fears with Elizabeth. She reminds him that no matter what happened in the past, he always fought with courage. In fact, it was only because of his strength that people had to trap him in a coffin and bury him. Now, the family needs him again, and he must fight in the present just as he did before. Encouraged by Elizabeth's words, Barnabas passionately sets out to restore the honor of the Collins family. He sells part of the hidden treasure from the secret room and hires dozens of workers. He renovates the mansion and rebuilds the fishing business. To avoid sunlight, he starts going out during the day wearing an umbrella, sunglasses, and a hat. However, he still struggles to find a proper place to rest, so he has the servants bring him his old coffin. As the business begins to recover, he hypnotizes the captains working for Angelique and turns them to his side, while also hiring new fishermen. In his free time, he learns about modern technology and spends time with Victoria. Meanwhile, Dr. Julia Hoffman finds Barnabas very unusual, so she calls him into her office. Using hypnosis, she makes him reveal his secret, that he is a vampire. Shocked and angry, she goes to confront Elizabeth for hiding the truth. However, Elizabeth stops her from going to the police and explains that instead of fearing Barnabas, she should be curious and study him to learn more about his condition. The next day, Julia begins giving Barnabas blood transfusions to see if it can cure his vampire condition. When Barnabas compliments her, Julia reminds him about the professional boundaries between a doctor and a patient, but still starts growing closer to him. Meanwhile, Angelique is furious because the Collins company has started to recover. The board members don't understand why it bothers her so much, but she insists that it's a matter of pride and revenge. Determined to uphold her disgraced family's legacy, she wants to completely destroy the Collins family. She calls Barnabas for a meeting and offers to buy his company, but he refuses. Angelique then says that all she wants is his love, and threatens to kill Victoria if he doesn't give it to her. Out of fear, Barnabas agrees, and the two end up together in her office, causing complete chaos and destruction in the process. Later, Barnabas realizes he has made a mistake and tells Angelique that he cannot be with her. In response, Angelique swears revenge. At the same time, Victoria begins having dreams about her childhood when she first saw Josette's ghost and was sent to an asylum by her parents. After waking up, she sees Josette's ghost again, asking for help before disappearing. Next morning at breakfast, Barnabas announces that he wants to host a grand ball for the entire town to remind everyone who the true ruling family is. Carolyn explains that traditional balls are outdated and that modern happenings are the trend now, giving him tips on how to throw a contemporary party. On the night of the party, Carolyn is shocked to realize that Barnabas was not joking. He has actually invited Alice Cooper to perform live. However, since Barnabas doesn't enjoy the music, he steps outside for a walk. Barnabas soon notices that David is standing guard near the coach house instead of a servant. He sends David away and climbs the outer wall to peek through a window. Inside, he sees Roger behaving inappropriately with a maid and even stealing wallets from the guest rooms. Later, Barnabas meets Victoria on the balcony. She tells him that she understands his feelings, as if she has known him for years. She believes that some mysterious force has always been drawing her toward Collinwood. When Barnabas tries to kiss her, she nervously steps back and then begins to share her story. Victoria reveals that she spent many years in an asylum, where her only companions were doctors and the ghost of Josette. In the name of treatment, she endured painful procedures. One day, she escaped through a window. While wandering, she saw a governess job advertisement in a newspaper, which Josette seemed to guide her toward. That's when she realized her purpose, and now she has also fallen in love with Barnabas. Finally, she kisses him. All of this is secretly witnessed by Angelique, who has just arrived at the party. Seeing this makes her furious with jealousy. The next day, Barnabas visits Julia and discovers that she has been injecting herself with his vampire blood in an attempt to become immortal. Feeling betrayed, Barnabas punishes her by killing her. He doesn't realize that as she dies, her teeth begin to grow into sharp fangs. He then asks Willie to take him out to sea, where they tie bricks to Julia's body and sink it into the ocean. Later, Barnabas catches Roger trying to enter the secret treasure room. He gives him two choices: either become a good father to David or take money and leave forever. Roger chooses the money and abandons the family, breaking David's heart. Crying, David runs to his room, where he nearly gets hit by a falling disco ball hanging from the ceiling. Barnabas saves him with his super speed, but in doing so, he steps into sunlight, causing his body to burn. This reveals his secret to the entire family, that he is a vampire. Heartbroken, Barnabas goes to Angelique, but she refuses to lift his curse and forces him to admit that he killed Julia. She then gives him an ultimatum: either rule the fishing empire with her or be sealed back in a coffin forever. Barnabas refuses and tries to escape, but Angelique's men are waiting with a coffin. She pushes him inside, chains it shut, and then uses her magic to destroy the Collins Company building. The coffin is later placed in a mausoleum, where David eventually finds it. Meanwhile, the town watches as police and firefighters try to control the fire. Angelique plays a recording of Barnabas confessing to Julia's murder, turning the townspeople against him. Enraged, the townspeople, along with the police and Angelique, storm Collinwood just as Barnabas returns. He offers to surrender if they promise not to harm his family and instead take only Angelique with him. The sheriff tries to shoot Barnabas, but the bullets have no effect. Barnabas then attacks Angelique, revealing that she too is a monster. A fierce battle begins. Elizabeth joins the fight with a shotgun, and Carolyn reveals that she is actually a werewolf. Still, they struggle against Angelique's powerful magic. At that moment, David arrives and sends his mother's ghost to attack Angelique. The ghost throws her across the room, and she crashes into a chandelier, finally dying. The family escapes the house. Barnabas says his final goodbye to Angelique. As she dies, she pulls out her heart and offers it to him, but it turns to dust. Barnabas cannot find Victoria until David's mother's ghost tells him she is at the cliff. He rushes there to stop her from jumping, but she doesn't listen. She leaps, and Barnabas jumps after her. This time, he bites her mid-air, turning her into a vampire before she hits the ground. Now immortal, they can finally be together forever. Deep beneath the ocean, Julia's body opens its eyes. She has become a vampire as well. So, friends, how did you like this story? If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe, because you'll get to see more amazing stories here first.